All right, this this other reaction I'm gonna do is gonna be from Nerd Science, so go check out their channel. And if you don't mind going on my channel, hitting the subscribe button, the ding-a-ling, that'd be awesome. And this is the video. This is could Spider-Man survive Predator? And yeah, that'd be cool if we could eventually see Doc Ock again. Nah, we probably will end up seeing him again at some point. Anyways, let's get into this.
The mechanical claw tightened around his throat, pinning him against the crumbling brickwork of the Daily Bugle. Peter Parker gasped, his vision spotting with black dots. Doc Ock grinned, the hydraulic actuators on his arms whining as they prepared for the final crushing squeeze. Peter was out of webs, out of breath, and completely out of time. Suddenly, the hair on his arm stood up. It wasn't the sharp sting of a punch, but a cold, heavy dread. Behind Octavius, the air shimmered like heat rising off asphalt. 3 distinct red dots appeared on the doctor's chest, followed instantly by a flash of blue plasma. Octavius didn't even scream. He just slumped, the light leaving his mechanical arms instantly. Welcome to the ultimate hunt. Today, we're asking a terrifying question. What happens when New York's friendly neighborhood hero becomes the trophy for the galaxy's deadliest hunter? First contact and the invisible threat. Peter dropped to the roof, coughing as air rushed back into his bruised windpipe. The mechanical arms released their grip, hanging his dead weight. He stared at the empty space where the shot had come from. His spider sense was screaming, a constant low-level buzz of danger. But his eyes saw nothing but the calm New York skyline. Then, for a split second, the air unzipped. 7 feet of armored muscle materialized from the void. Mandibles clicked behind a metallic mask. The creature scanned him, recording his vitals. Before the figure dissolved back into transparency, Peter didn't wait to ask questions. He thwipped a desperate line and swung, launching himself over the street. But as he gained altitude, he heard the heavy crunch of something landing on the gargoyle he'd just left. The invisible enemy wasn't just watching, it was pursuing, and it was keeping up. Let's break down why this is a nightmare scenario for Spider-Man.
That looks pretty
The
cool,
Yautja, or Predator, uses advanced light-bending technology that renders them effectively invisible to the visible light spectrum. By manipulating the refractive index of the air around a suit, light waves curve around the body, creating a perfect blind spot for the human eye. While Peter has enhanced vision, he still relies heavily on optical input to calculate swing trajectories and landing zones. Essentially, he is fighting a ghost. You might be thinking, but he has spider sense. He can dodge anything. And you're partially right. That precognitive buzz is his biggest asset here. In the comics, Peter's reaction time is roughly 15 to 20 times faster than a normal human. He can sense danger before it happens. However, there's a biological variable we have to calculate: latency. If the sense warns him, his muscles still need to fire. Against a standard thug, a reaction window of 0.05 seconds is plenty of time. But against a plasma caster that fires energy bolts at speeds approaching Mach 10, the margin for error is microscopic. The spider sense tells him when to move, but without eyes on a target, it can't tell him where to move to. Back above the streets, Peter pushed his swing speed to the limit, hitting 60 miles per hour. He banked around a corner, aiming for the shadows of the industrial district to break the line of sight. His sense spiked, sharp and sudden. He twisted midair, a reflexive contortion, but not fast enough. A ball of superheated plasma grazed his shoulder. The kinetic force was massive, like getting hit by a truck. It severed his web line instantly. Peter tumbled, momentum carrying him straight through the skylight of an abandoned warehouse. He crashed onto the concrete floor, rolling to absorb the impact, clutching a shoulder that was now smoking. The wound was cauterized instantly by the extreme heat, but the shock to his system was debilitating. This isn't the Rhino charging in a straight line, and it isn't the Goblin throwing pumpkins he can track. This
That rhino was an effing joke, man. Electronic rhino? Come on, man. And the rhino and Hunter, what the Hunter, what's that? Maybe that came out. The Hunter dude. But that rhino, what it is, it's a guy in a rhino suit. But they didn't show him wearing a rhino suit. Like when he injected himself, he just turned into a freaking rhino. Why couldn't you just stick to the comic book accuracy?
Is an enemy with total stealth superiority, unknown weaponry, and the element of surprise. Peter has zero intel on what he's fighting. He doesn't know the rules of the hunt. He is injured, disoriented, and trapped in a confined space with something he can't see. Survival grade? F. The odds are catastrophic. Peter is relying purely on luck at this point. He has no offensive capability against a target he cannot locate. And his primary defense, mobility, has been compromised by the injury. If he stays in the open, he dies. Chapter 2. The Heat Signature and the Chase. Pete huddled in the highest rafters of the derelict shipping warehouse, pressing himself into the shadowed recess where a steel girder met the corrugated roof. His breath came in ragged, shallow gasps, which he forced himself to hold. The silence in the warehouse was heavy, broken only by the settling groans of the rusting metal and the distant, muffled sounds of the city outside. He clamped a hand over his shoulder, feeling the charred edges of the suit where the plasma had burned through. The wound wasn't bleeding. The extreme heat had seen to that, but the nerve endings were firing in a chaotic rhythm that made his arm tremble. Below him, the warehouse floor was a labyrinth of rotting crates and rusted machinery. To the naked eye, it was a cavern of pitch blackness. Peter's lenses adjusted to low-light mode, scanning for movement, but the floor remained still. He thought he had broken line of sight. He thought he was safe, at least for a moment. He was wrong. High above on the opposite gantry, the Predator stood perfectly still. It didn't need light. It tapped a control on its wrist gauntlet, and its vision shifted. The monochrome darkness of the warehouse vanished, replaced by a vibrant spectrum of thermal gradients. The cold steel was deep blue. The ambient air was a dull purple. And there, huddled in the rafters like a glowing beacon, was a mass of blinding white and red heat. This brings us to the second major disadvantage Spider-Man faces in this matchup: thermodynamics. We often talk about Peter's strength, but we rarely discuss the biological cost of that power. To flip a sanitation truck or stop a speeding train, Spider-Man's muscles require an immense amount of chemical energy. His body is essentially a biological nuclear reactor. In scientific terms, Peter possesses a hypermetabolic rate. A normal human generates about 100 watts of heat at rest. An elite athlete mid-sprint might generate 1,000 watts. Spider-Man, even while holding still, his body is repairing tissue, replenishing glycogen stores, and maintaining a muscle density that is orders of magnitude higher than a human's. He is running hot, likely maintaining a core temperature that would be fatal to a normal person. To the Predator's thermal vision, Peter Parker isn't hiding in the dark. He is a flare burning in the night sky. Furthermore, let's look at his gear. The advanced suit from the Insomniac universe is a marvel of engineering, utilizing reinforced carbon fiber inserts and polymesh flexible inserts. It offers incredible protection against blunt force trauma and splash damage. However, carbon fiber is a conductor, not an insulator. The suit is designed to breathe, to vent that massive amount of body heat so Peter doesn't cook inside it during a fight. That design failure, which usually keeps him alive, is now painting a target on his back. The suit isn't masking his heat signature, it's radiating it. The Predator raised its left arm. The shoulder-mounted plasma caster whined as it charged. The weapon isn't firing a laser. It's firing a distinct state of matter. It superheats gas into plasma, ionized matter that can reach temperatures comparable to the surface of the sun. When that bolt hits a solid object, the thermal transfer is instantaneous and explosive. Peter's spider sense flared, a sharp, stabbing warning at the base of his skull. He didn't hesitate. He dropped from the rafter just as the steel beam he'd been clinging to vaporized in a shower of molten iron. The explosion rocked the warehouse, the concussive force slamming Peter into a stack of shipping pallets. He scrambled to his feet, sprinting through the maze of crates. Another bolt blew apart the floor right behind his heel. He dove, rolled, and fired a web at the ceiling to pull himself around a corner. But the shots kept coming. They were leading him. The hunter wasn't guessing. It knew exactly where he was. As Peter burst through the rear exit and into the cool night air of the alley, the realization hit him. He looked down at his chest, heaving with exertion.
You know what just hit me? Spider-Man's coming out first. Spider-Man New Day. Then the Avengers, because it all is going to loop together into this doomsday thing.
Wasn't just fighting an invisible enemy. He was fighting an enemy that could see him through walls. He couldn't hide, not in the dark, not in the silence. As long as he was alive, as long as his heart was beating and generating heat, he was visible. Survival grade, D. The situation has improved marginally only because Peter now understands the tracking mechanism. He knows stealth is impossible in his current state. However, he is still on the defensive. His armor is ineffective against the primary weapon, and he has yet to land a single blow. He is surviving, but he is still the prey. Chapter 3. Changing the Battlefield. Peter realized that if he couldn't lower his own body temperature, he had to raise the temperature of the environment until his heat signature became meaningless. He sprinted toward a maintenance access grate near Grand Central Terminal, ripped the heavy iron cover off its hinges with one hand, and dove into the subterranean darkness of the New York City steam system. He landed in a narrow, claustrophobic tunnel filled with hissing pipes and thick, billowing fog. The air here was oppressive.
I was up late last night. I didn't get much sleep.
Hovering near 100 degrees Fahrenheit with nearly 100% humidity. It was loud, chaotic, and visually obscure. The perfect countermeasure to the hunter's technology. This brings us to the physics of environmental masking. Infrared sensors work by detecting temperature differentials. In a cold warehouse, Peter's 98-degree body stands out like a beacon. But in a steam tunnel, the ambient temperature is dangerously close to human body heat. Furthermore, water vapor is excellent at absorbing and scattering infrared radiation. The thick clouds of steam act like a physical wall to thermal imaging, creating ghosting and static across the predator's visor. By entertaining this environment, Peter effectively blinded his opponent's primary tracking method. But blinding the enemy wasn't enough. Peter had to immobilize him. He began crisscrossing the narrow tunnel with webbing, creating a tripwire labyrinth. Let's analyze the stopping power here. Spider-Man's web fluid is a shear thinning liquid that solidifies on impact. In the comics and official handbooks, his webs have a tensile strength of roughly 120,000 pounds per square inch, comparable to high-grade steel, but with the elasticity of nylon. The predator, known as a Yautja, is a heavyweight combatant. Between its dense biological muscle mass and the heavy ceremonial armor, we're looking at a moving object weighing between 300 and 400 pounds. If the predator runs into a standard web line at full sprint, the physics suggest the web won't snap. The walls of the tunnel will. The anchor points would fail before the silk does. However, Peter isn't just using standard lines, he's using impact webbing designed to expand and encase targets instantly. The stakes of this trap are incredibly high because of the durability mismatch. While Peter has superhuman durability, he can take a punch from the shocker or survive being thrown through a wall, his resistance is primarily against blunt force trauma. His muscle density acts like natural armor against impacts. However, he has no specific resistance resistance to piercing or slashing damage. The Predator's wrist blades are made of extraterrestrial alloy that is harder and sharper than a diamond, capable of cutting through tank armor. If Peter gets grabbed, his reinforced bones won't save him. One clean swipe would be fatal. The tunnel shook as the Predator dropped in from the street level. The alien hunter stood up, clicking its mandibles in frustration. As predicted, its thermal vision was a wash of useless white noise. It cycled through vision modes, ultraviolet, tech view, but the dense steam blocked them all. For the first time, the hunter was blind. Peter didn't need eyes. He hung upside down in a fog, his eyes closed, listening to the heavy metallic footsteps clanking on the wet concrete. His spider sense painted a perfect 360-degree map of the threat. He waited until the footsteps hit the center of his web trap. Snap! The Predator triggered a tripline. Peter fired. 2 impact webs slammed into the alien's shoulders, pinning it against the hot pipes. The hunter roared, thrashing against the webbing, but Peter was already moving. He swung through the steam, landing a massive double-footed kick to the creature's chest plate before vanishing back into the fog. Survival grade B. The tables have turned. By neutralizing the Predator's range and stealth advantages, Peter has forced the fight into close quarters, where his superior agility and sensory powers dominate. The hunter is now the hunted. Chapter 4. The Apex Predator. The fight spilled out of the claustrophobic steam tunnels and into the cavernous expanse of an abandoned subway terminal. The Predator, realizing its stealth and thermal tracking were useless against an opponent who can sense it coming, changed tactics. It ripped the shredded webbing from its armor with a guttural roar and extended the combi stick, a telescoping spear made of refined extraterrestrial alloy. No more hiding. This was a duel. The alien lunged, the spear tip moving faster than the human eye could follow. But Peter didn't dodge. He caught the spear shaft midair, stopping the strike inches from his chest. The Predator paused, mandibles clicking in genuine confusion. It pushed with all its might, muscles bulging, but Peter's arm didn't budge. Here is the final critical calculation: raw strength. A Yautja is incredibly strong, capable of tearing through steel doors and lifting roughly 5 to 10 tons. It dominates almost every organic species it hunts because it's used to being the strongest thing in the room. But Spider-Man? He's in a different weight class entirely. In the comics, Peter has supported the landing gear of a private jet, held up falling subway cars, and even staggered the Hulk. His upper limit is often cited in the 10 to 20 ton range, but under extreme stress, he has lifted far more. In a direct contest of brute force, the Predator is outclassed by a factor of at least 2. It is simply a mathematical impossibility for the hunter to win a grappling match here. The alien abandoned the spear and fired its net gun at point-blank range. This weapon fires a razor-sharp wire mesh that tightens until it slices through bone. For a human, this is a death sentence. For Peter, it's a physics problem solved in slow motion. This is the bullet time effect of the spider sense. When adrenaline hits Peter's system, his perception of time dilates. He sees the net deploying, calculates the trajectory of the weights, and finds the gap between the wires. He backflipped through the expanding net, the razor wire missing him by millimeters. He landed on the Predator's shoulders. My turn. Peter unleashed a full-force strike. We need to talk about the structural integrity.
Spider-Verse 1 and 2 were pretty good, which, by the way, did you know Nicolas Cage is doing his version of Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir. It's gonna be an Amazon series coming out sometime this year, but yeah, man, it's gonna look, I can't wait. See, the trailer looks pretty sweet.
of the Predator's biomask. It's designed to filter toxins and provide HUD data, not withstand a kinetic impact equivalent to a mortar shell. Peter's fist connected. The mask shattered. The alien was sent flying backward, crashing into a subway pillar with enough force to crack the concrete foundation. Before the hunter could recover, Peter was there. He didn't just web him, he cocooned him. Within seconds, the Predator was plastered to the pillar under layers of high tensile fluid. The alien reached for its wrist gauntlet, fingers hovering over the self-destruct sequence, a miniature nuke capable of leveling a city block. But Peter isn't just a brawler. He's a genius engineer. He recognized the energy buildup immediately. He ripped the gauntlet's casing open and crushed the firing mechanism with a precise grip, severing the connection to the power core. The countdown died before it began. The Predator looked at the human, then at its broken wrist. It didn't roar. It clicked its mandibles softly, a Yahucha gesture of respect. It had sought a trophy, but it had found an apex predator. Survival grade S. Peter proved that physical superiority combined with tactical genius creates an insurmountable defense. He didn't just survive. He dominated the encounter once he leveled the playing field. Peter limped toward the tunnel exit as SHIELD containment teams rappelled down from the skylights, their lasers training on the restrained alien. He was battered, burned, and exhausted, but he was alive. While the Predator brought the galaxy's most advanced hunting technology to the fight, it simply couldn't account for the unpredictable variable of a spider's instinct.
Man, I love that Spider-Man. His spider webs are sticking out. Why don't they do that to other Spider-Man suits?
Combined with a genius-level intellect. So, who wins the next round of the horror gauntlet? Should Spidey face Xenomorphs or Jason Voorhees? Leave your pick in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more battles. And we'll see.
Spider-Man should fight Jason Voorhees, then Freddy Krueger, then Batman, and then Thanos. That's my reaction. Go to my channel, please. Subscribe, hit the ding-a-ling for more notifications. See you on the flip.